The last couple of decades have seen what I call theoretical history come to life as a recognisable academic discipline with conferences, journals and a growing community of researchers. And by theoretical history, I mean the search for patterns in history using quantitative data and formal theories. In other words, it's history as a science. And now there is a textbook, an introduction to theoretical history, written by me. I've been a social sciences researcher since the 1990s, looking into issues like how do we break up terrorist groups? And I've been bringing in these historical perspectives. And this book is based on what I've learned. It will tell you what people are finding out about patterns in history. So this is not my ideas, it's not my theory, it's a textbook to give you an overview of the whole discipline with the different theories and theorists and how they fit together. What I've done, my contribution, is to bring all the information into one place and organise it into a framework. If you pick up a textbook in physics, you'll see it's organised into various topics like mechanics, heat, electricity and magnetism. These are the big themes we divide physics into, and it gives you a map to what physicists know. And that's what we need for theoretical history, and is what you'll get from this book. Now, I've been interested in theoretical history ever since I left university, only at the time it was just a few people with sporadic theories, and they weren't really communicating. But about 10 years ago, I started to realise that there is a real field of study taking shape here, starting, let's say, from around the time of the millennium. And there's actually a good reason why the time is ripe for this kind of scientific history. And that's because we have another new science that's been taking shape, the science of complex systems. And societies and their history constitute a complex system. And complexity science is giving us the tools needed to study them, for example, with new understanding of networks or tipping points. And what also helps is that with computers and the internet, there's a lot more social and historical statistics becoming available, and it's much easier to crunch the numbers and look for patterns. So in the 20th century, there was a revolution in physics with relativity and quantum mechanics, and a revolution in biology with the decoding of DNA. And it's looking like in the 21st century there's happening a revolution in our understanding of societies and social change. And it's a young field, so there's still plenty of scope for new people to get involved and make your name, maybe come up with the great discoveries that will become the basic foundations of theoretical history. And the point of this book is to get you up to speed, so you don't have to rummage around in books and journals, basically reinventing the wheel. Everything's in one place and it's laid out in a systematic way. And what I like about theoretical history is that it really touches on every aspect of human life. Can you understand history without considering, say, geography, like the fact that ancient Egypt was on the River Nile? No. Can you understand history without thinking about economics or culture or politics or technology or language? No, you can't. It's all relevant. So theoretical history is a great thing to get involved with if you're interested in everything. If you're just interested in the Aztecs, great, become a historian of the Aztecs. But if you're interested in the Aztecs and how they compare with the ancient Romans and how they're relevant to modern China, become a theoretical historian. So what's in the book? Well, it's nearly 600 pages long and it's divided into 10 chapters. So the first chapter is the introduction, which explains how indeed there are clear patterns in history similar to those we find in more established disciplines, like this curve showing the number of people in space between 1960 and 2020. And the point is that not only do the data obey a definite mathematical law, but this kind of S-shaped curve with a period of around 50 years is found in a whole range of historical processes to do with innovation and discovery. And what's more, there is a relatively simple theory that explains why it occurs. And of course, once we understand that, we can make predictions about how space exploration will evolve over the next 50 or 60 years. So that gives you a flavour of what theoretical history looks like and what the point of it is. Chapter 2 is called Background, and it covers some basic ground rules, such as that we're talking about the time back to the beginnings of human culture, say around 50,000 years ago. Chapter 3 is mathematical methods. Now, not all theoretical history is mathematical, but some is, and for those who like to take a mathematical approach, this chapter covers a whole range of mathematical patterns we can compare to the patterns we see in history. For example, if we see oscillations in history, such as economic ups and downs, and we know about the mathematics of oscillations, we can grasp the kinds of processes that must be occurring in society to produce such oscillations. With chapter 4, we move on to theoretical history proper. This is about cultures and civilizations. So this is about theories of how we identify civilizations, how they are related to each other, why they rise and fall. Chapter 5 is called Social Evolution and Progress, and it covers why some societies are rich and others poor. Then it deals with the long-term growth of the human population, which turns out to be absolutely fundamental because population size underlies almost everything else about society, and there's a range of theories about that. Chapter 6 is political evolution, so this covers theories about why people went from simple family bands to complex modern states, and it deals with the sizes and durations of empires. Chapter 7 is about urban systems, so it deals with relationships between cities and how bigger cities are not just bigger but also more complex, having things like metro systems that you don't find in smaller ones. And there is a big historical dimension to this because we can see these patterns evolving since the earliest cities. Chapter 8 is devoted to the subject of cycles. So there are theories about cycles in the economy, cycles in war, cycles in civil unrest, and other kinds of historical cycles. And they're all brought together in this chapter. Chapter 9, Environment, covers theories about how history is affected by climate change, by geography, such as access to the sea, by disease. And lastly, theoretical history needs data, and chapter 10 lists some places where you can get hold of data to do your own investigations. There's also a bibliography and an index. And I'd like to mention this doesn't just say that theories exist, it describes them in detail, and sometimes I would say more simply and clearly than the original authors. However, the book's written in an academic style, so everything is referenced. So that's it. And as you can see, the book's full of diagrams and charts and equations. It's all in colour. And there's an awful lot of information here, so I've divided it up into lots of little sections to make it more digestible. You can get the book from lulu.com and from Amazon. I'll put the links in the description. The ebook is just £9.99 and equivalent prices in other currencies. The physical version is £59.99 in the UK, and again, equivalent prices in dollars, etc. That reflects the sheer costs of printing and distribution. I'll also be putting up a video lecture series later this year. And lastly, I'll leave you with some pictures of the table of contents and the front and back cover.